My name is Troy Aiken. I run BuzzLead. We're a B2B lead generation agency with over 20 years of combined sales experience. And over the past 2 years, we've been able to generate north of $8 million in annual recurring revenue for us and our clients strictly through cold email. But this skill wasn't easily acquired. It took years of trial and effort and struggle and tribulation to get where we are today and consistently generating hundreds of meetings every single month. And when you think about it, there's really just like 4 key elements that make up a successful cold email campaign and outbound motion. Is 1, do you have the right systems in place to end up in the inbox and get over those spam filters? Number 2 is, do you have established product market fit? Is what you're selling actually going to resonate with the audience? And then number 3 is, do you have the right verified and accurate data that's going to end up in the inbox every single time? And number 4 is your copywriting persuasive and engaging to that target persona. In this video today, I'm going to be answering that last question in granular detail and sharing everything I've learned over the past 10 plus years copywriting and sending over 18 million cold emails so you can shorten your learning curve, become more effective copywriters, book more meetings, and scale your business. Be sure to stay tuned to the really kind of end of this video here. I'm going to be sharing some of the more persuasive, engaging copywriting techniques that we've been able to employ to get just incredible results for us and our clients. So more than 25% of CEOs come from a sales and marketing background. I'm really writing this guide in an aim to help the 18-year-old version of myself that just started in sales, lacked really any sales knowledge or skills, but ultimately knew that sales was one of the best vehicles to become successful. If you know how to sell, there will always be doors opening for you. Go get paid. The world is yours for the taking. So some quick antidotes and a thesis on just cold email copywriting in general. Demand capture versus demand generation. There's a fundamental difference in those and the way that we're going to present those to our audience, which I'll detail. Less words, the better. Speak in simple layman's terms. You want to almost speak at like a 5th grade reading level to most of the audiences that you're going to go out and engage with a few exceptions that we can talk around. Sometimes you got to skip the shit and just get to the pitch. Speak a ratio of 2 to 1 about them versus you, and keep your message on one scroll of the phone. The first line preview is worth just as much as your offer inside that email. If you use bullet points, make them incredibly relevant or value driven. AI should be your assistant, not your crutch. Means make people laugh. When people smile, they're more inclined to say less. Cool. So let's start here. All for creation. So you want to do cold email. First, we have to figure out what we're going to sell. The best part about cold email is that you can sell 90% of the things over the internet to get someone to engage with you. In most cases, we're looking at products, services, software, etc. Based on my experience with cold email, lead generation, your sales unit, whatever that might be, falls into typically just like 2 categories. These will really be like the baseline elements that we'll utilize in our cold email campaigns, and kind of like when we start talking around like how do we position our offers here more effectively. So those 2 categories that are going to be just really critical to understanding cold email copywriting is demand capture versus demand generation. They're 2 fundamentally different things. So like demand capture, for example, demand capture in this use case is your clients are already problem aware and they take their pain or their need and they go and they search for it actively out in the market. So that looks like things like marketing agency, SEO, accountants, payroll. Like you know that March or April's coming around and your taxes are due. And so you're like, okay, I need to go out and engage a payroll accountant or somebody else to help me out with figuring out, my tax policies here. Or I know I need a new website. I know I need to optimize my website. Let me go and hop on Fiverr or post on Upwork and see where I can potentially get a few different quotes here. So that's demand capture, right? They're problem aware and they themselves shift into action. The second one here is demand generation. And this occurs when you can make your prospect problem aware and shift them into action. And you're able to shift them into action by showing them that their input is going to have an outsized output as a result of engaging with your services, right? So it's just ROI, right? And so that typically that outsized benefit revolves around saving them time, saving them money, making them more money, raising their status, or bringing them into an exclusive group. And so they're 2 fundamentally different like purposes and approach. So like demand generation is something that's absolutely cold email. Like what we do over at BuzzLead is we will go out and we'll book you 8 to 20 to 30 to 40 different qualified meetings every single month with your ideal prospects. If we're able to do that for at a certain cost basis and you're able to sell those at a higher price point, like that's a significant outsized result. And so that's where we'll tap into demand capture. We want to focus on what we can do to either capture that attention with the right timing, right? They become problem aware and they shift into action, right? There's something that's going on there. We'll call this trigger events. Or we can make them problem aware by proposing a creative angle to uncover the gaps in their existing strategy and process and go about like capturing their attention that way. So let's speak to the right timing. Like timing is everything in life. in life. The light turns green, you hit the gas, the fastball comes, you hit the pitch, you meet the right partner, and you say, I do. All of those events have trigger events right before them to indicate that once this one decision is made, you have a high degree of certainty. You know the eventual impact that'll fall downstream. So let's take the case of marriage that I wrote here. After you get married, it is fair to assume that you'll be moving in together, some blending of finances between both parties, start planning a future together, etc., etc. That wedding event is the critical trigger. With a high degree of certainty, we know the events that'll come following after said trigger event. And while it's not copy and paste for every single party, there are some commonalities that we're able to derive from that experience just because we've either engaged with people that have been there before or we've learned from those that have been there previously. So like a degree of research, right? And so we leverage trigger events is knowing when the certain shoes are going to drop and how you can position yourself effectively when the shoe does drop. And so the question then becomes like, all right, how do we know where we can skate to where the puck is going to be at? So then the question becomes, how do we identify those trigger events? And there's a phrase called skating to where the puck is at. I think it's a great saying in sales as well. And I feel like it fits here nicely. So in cold email, you're able to skate to where the puck is at by either doing customer interviews, researching competitors' marketing activities, or other just like general research. If you have existing customers, they were all going through some variation of the similar journey that led them to partnering with you to solve a pain point in flaring from the trigger event. And so the way that you're going to do this is you're essentially just want to like quickly call them up or see if they're open for a brief conversation and ask them just some questions that understand like what exactly transpired what exactly transpired that made them want to start working with you. And so those questions would sound like, what was your life like before working with us? What made you really want to work with us? How was your day-to-day before working with us, right? And these questions will begin to just like paint a picture of like exactly what they were doing on a day-to-day basis that was causing them to eventually want to partner with you. And the answer isn't always going to be black and white. Don't expect it to be. However, there are some commonalities to identify and deduce to creatively kind of like understand what their exact world looked like pre and post service. So take copious amounts of notes and have their whiteboard session to really just like see like what commonalities or deeper correlations exist there. And I will say like there's always going to be a common thread in your ICP. If you haven't found it yet, like keep digging, keep asking the right questions or different questions, and go back. Don't be afraid to go back to the drawing board and have more conversations or do more research with AI or online. It's only just going to benefit you, and so you can speak higher to those, more detailed to those target personas. And so once we have that trigger event, let's say it's getting married in this case, right? We want to then extract the value from the client and gain from working with us afterwards. So what's your favorite part about working with us? What's been the biggest benefit of working with us? What impact have we had on your company, right? And so you can kind of formulate those to understand like, all right, so you guys just hired a new CMO to lead your guys' marketing efforts. They felt like they were ill-equipped, so they partnered with us to build out the right systems and strategies in place. So once we have the trigger event, we want to extract the value that the client gained from working with us, because now we'll be able to tell the whole story, right? We have the trigger event, we insert whatever X services, and then we get the value out of it. And so what this question sound like is, what's been your favorite part about working with us? What's been the biggest benefit of working with us? What impact have we had on your company? Has it been saving time, saving money, saving resources, raising your status? Did you get a promotion? Like, were you able to go retire on a beach? Like, what did that story ultimately look like? That is what we're going to go and take and sell to our audience when it comes to the right timing. And it's all going to vary, but you'll like pretty quickly figure out the biggest wins and position those as something repeatable in your core offer, or just like sell that alone. I'll get to that a little bit later on in our creative writing styles. When we engaging via cold email, we want to capture that trigger event and then sell the case study as a similar beneficial impacts, right? Because if we've done this for this person, it's highly likely we're going to be able to do this for you. And it's the combination of the trigger event and the killer case study that makes your offer relevant and impactful. So let's run through some scenarios of public-facing trigger events. Scenario one here, like a company announces funding. Company XYZ just got Series C funding, $150 million at a new raised valuation of like $4.2 million. We're able to know with a high certainty of impact with this influx of money, the company's going to expand their headcount from marketing and sales to drive in more revenue for the business so they continue to grow and scale their systems and business, right? Whenever that occurs, right? So we have now marketing and sales coming in. They need stuff to do. They need to have stuff to fill their calendar. And so that's leads, that's software, that's marketing spend, that's events, right? That puts them in hyper growth mode, which comes with growing pains that you can solve because you've done it before from similar companies, right? And so you essentially just want to if the trigger event is for helping companies that just went public, like you just go and you just sell that case study for how you helped that exact same company that went through funding, and how you're able to like delineate quick impacts to ensure that they hit their next round or they hit their revenue targets that their investors were focused on. Releasing a new product. So let's say that a company is releasing a new product. So there's gonna be expanded efforts around production, delivery, support, marketing, and sales effort, right? The whole entire line. Now with new releases comes more customer requests, support tickets about the product launch, along with additional challenges around production, delivery, support, marketing, and sales events. But let's dial in customer supports and requests. So we know with a product launch that their customer requests are going to increase because there's going to be questions around product efficiency, efficacy, safety, regulatory requirements and needs. And so if you're able to share around how you've helped others nail product launches, shift those in go-to-market structures, and ensure that it's successful and that it has a certain ROI on that activity, then you're going to be 10 times more relevant and impactful than just like a carpet bombing approach of just like consistently selling a portion of your solution. And lastly, here we have hiring a CFO. We know that they have an active gap on their executive suite, whether that's because we saw on LinkedIn that they're hiring for a CFO or that their CFO recently transitioned to a different company. Say in the case that we're a fractional CFO services, we're able to essentially just like position ourselves as we have that acquired experience from working with similar sized companies, because now we're able to just essentially just replicate that at a larger scale at a fractional service. And then we just essentially just sell that system as a potential alternative to get them to the same goal at a 50% price reduction, right? So it comes back to saving time, saving money, saving resources. So you identify the trigger event, whatever that might be. You then sell the case study and outcome that you previously helped with because you have those customer case studies. And then you just make it clear on the impact that you would have and show your acquired knowledge and trusted experience to make this really just a no-brainer offer for you and your clients. Now, how can you find this information, right? You're probably saying like, this is a ton of stuff that's flying around all at one point. And when you're doing cold email at scale, it becomes incredibly difficult. So let's say you're doing like a personalized outreach. You can usually just do like LinkedIn or Twitter, or even just like get on the company website, look at their 10K, and just pull out relevant information, then like shoot that via email. It takes a little bit longer of a process, but like that's how we started out in cold email lead generation. And it took like, 15 to 20 minutes to write a good email, and then you get it down to like 2 to 3 to write a good email. And that just comes with experience. Now, if you're feeling fancy or you have the ability to do this at scale, now empowered by tools like Clay, who is like an incredible AI lead generation tool, you're able to plug in tools like Hunter or Clearbit, and that can help automate a lot of this data collection at a larger scale and pull that into one clean database, one clean sheet. And then you're able to just do object filters off of that to feel like who is the relevant target audience that would fit like this criteria that we're looking to engage with. So let's pretend you don't have any customers, right? Like we've all been there too. You're at the unique time in our history where cold email is at a time where it's never been more effective and affordable. But also there comes in challenges with that, right? Like there's going to be a lot of competition. So if you're starting off with 0 customers, you also have the added benefit of not having to service customers. So 100% of your attention should be devoted to getting customers in the door. And the best way to do that, when you've absolutely had zero proof that you can deliver on those promises and rise above the competition, you got to work for free. Everyone hates the idea of it. I know I did. The simple fact of it is like, if you don't have some sort of experience or testimonials to call upon, you'll have little to no success with cold email, right? Like we just talked about this in trigger events and value. So why would people trust you? Why should people trust you? You wouldn't, so why should they? You have to give them a reason to earn their trust in exchange for a customer case study that we then want to turn around and sell to others. And for example, when we started BuzzLead, we offered people their first 3 meetings for free. And if we don't book you 5 within 90 days, you get your money back. And this was performance based. And we were charging like $200 a meeting. And so we had like a ton of success with some meetings, and we couldn't sell like wind to a wind catcher for others. And so we quickly found out what we were great at selling and what we weren't. And it was the fastest feedback loop to identify our ICP, collect those case studies, and then sell that case study to a larger market and scale our business. Once again, we just identify the trigger event and sell the case study and the outcome. And that's how we continue to grow and scale and acquire more of the exact same clients that we want to work with, that we know are successful. This is 50% of what works well in pitching demand capture via email. So to just like quickly recap here, engage your customers to figure out what their trigger event was, what benefits your customers have received from your services, right? Like what's that value at the end of that? Use AI and Clay to identify similar trigger event personas, right? We talked around Clay, Hunter, and Clearbit, plugging in all that information so you have that easily extractable and that you can utilize that at a larger sale. Then you sell the case studies as your offer by being incredibly relevant to that target persona that's going through that exact trigger event, right? And so like just quickly, just like typo on this, talk to your customers, get the trigger event that they're going through, identify what was the value that you were able to engage or provide them with after engaging with your services, and then you take that, you make that a story, and then you sell that story to the ideal audience that's going through the exact same trigger events, because if you're able to solve this challenge, it's a high likelihood that they're dealing with the similar challenges. So the other 50% here that's not trigger events and case studies and value extraction is pitching your offer in a creative way of just like a reduced version of your service for free. And while the idea for working for free is not sexy for 90% of businesses, I get it. Just feel free to complain while the other 10% of us are gobbling up your market share. And you don't have to give away the moon. I'm not asking you to give away an entire marketing strategy and service. Just give them something of innate value that would make their lives easier to agree and take some of their work off their plate to earn their time. And when you think about it, like the world runs on reciprocity. So for example, like when a waiter or waitress leaves a mint on your tab, it's shown to increase their tab or their tip amount by 20 to 30%, just because they left a mint, right? Your mind as a human nature is gonna like, if somebody gives you something, you don't want to be in debt to somebody, so you want to return the favor. So when you're employing this similar tactic via cold email, it's like, okay, what is something that is similar to a mint, right? What is something that has a decent market value, costs me very little, is repeatable, and allows me to display my acquired knowledge and solves maybe a small, minute pain point for them. Now, what this sounds like is the form of audits or competitive takedowns or free content or of Loom and website or like video reviews. The list goes on and on. And you can be incredibly creative with this. And I highly recommend you do so, because if you're pitching something like marketing agencies or SEO or ads, like that is a very competitive market. In order for you to stand out and break through, like you have to be creative on your approach, and you're gonna have to do some of that work for free just to show that you're worth their time and their energy to have a conversation about your larger services. Because if it's not that big of a pain point for them, like you have to illuminate that for them and make it really, really clear on how you're gonna be able to help out. So here's just a few examples that we've run incredibly well across our clients that have had a ton of success. Share your top 3 competitors and I'll give you a competitive takedown strategy. I signed up for your email newsletter and noticed a few gaps in your newsletter and your email marketing campaigns. Mind if I share that with you here? I was on your website today and noticed a few items on your site that might be leaving revenue on the table. Mind if I send you a quick video showing more? That one is absolutely printed when it comes to like website design, which is like really hard. And then, is your accountant using every legal tax loophole to maximize your 2024 returns? I like that last one because when you think around payroll services, like there's obviously a need in like Q1 of the year, but like what about the other 3 quarters that exist out there? And so that's where we're able to plug in and ensure that we're always staying busy and maximizing our return on investment here. So when it comes to presenting your demand capture offer, whether you're using a reduced version of your service for free, this will typically just be like a direct pitch or value-driven call to action at the end of the email. So let's pretend you're a marketing agency pitching, the typical spiel, SEO, content, ads, top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel stuff, right? You would lead with some aspect of a role call out to specify why you're speaking to them. We'll call this relevance in our outreach. You'll then quickly flow into an offer or a question. Typically starts with, if we could, or would this be interesting? So like, for example, I noticed you had marketing efforts for Acme Inc. If we could provide you a comprehensive media guide based on your top 3 competitors, would that be interesting? That script right there has made us so much money in our marketing agencies, so much money. So like, take that, run with it. This is me giving you guys that nugget for kind of engaging here. In the second kind of alternative structure here we can use for demand capture is calling out those said trigger events and present them to then just flow into your value-driven call to action. And there's kind of like a script that you can run with there. Alternatively, I do want to mention, like if you're presenting your demand capture offer and supposed to doing a statement there of like, I noticed you had marketing efforts, you can make that a poke the bear question. I'll get to that a little bit later on, but that'll just like help press the needle on a pain point that we know that they're facing, and then give them an immediate offer that's going to be for free to make them want to engage with your services a little bit more. So that's demand capture as a whole, right? So that is demand capture. The next aspect that we're going to move on to is demand generation. And they are 2 fundamentally different techniques. in that demand capture is you making your prospects problem aware and shifting them to take action. And you're able to shift them to take action by showing them that their input is going to have a significant multiple ROI in the form of time, money, or energy, and what they're going to get out on the back end. So based on our experience, the formulaic approach that I've seen that just worked incredibly well is Alex Hormozi's $100 million offers. This offer creation framework just helps easily portray to our audience how we help them people save time, save money, make more money, raise their status, or invite them to an exclusive route. It breaks down to really like 5 key components. Number 1, quantifiable end result. By engaging with your services, what are you going to give me by when? Right? Am I going to lose 30 pounds? Am I going to generate another $10,000 a month? Am I going to be able to go retire on the beach within, a few years' time? Niche. Identify the target audience or market segment that benefits from your offering. You want to speak directly to the target persona that you're looking to engage with. And a lot of times, like I have companies, let's pretend marketing agencies here that come to me and they go, we can help anyone and everyone. And I say, that's great, but who do you actually have the best and biggest impact for? Who continues to share and tell people about your services, even when you tell them not, like, even when you don't even have to encourage them to do so, and who always pays your bills on time and never complains? Like, go and speak to that niche and that exact target persona, because there's going to be more that exist out there like them. And the more specific that we can be, the more that they're going to feel it and it's going to resonate with them. And then the mechanism, right? Number 3, highlight the unique approach or methodology through which you will be able to achieve the desired result. And this is something that's unique to you in whatever your structure is, right? Is it a blueprint? Is it a system? Is it a launch plan? Is it a new diet strategy, right? Is it a 30-day grind? Like, what does that particularly look like? And then you present that as a unique mechanism that you're able to achieve the benefit from them for that niche audience, right? And so we're kind of seeing how this rolls together. Number 4 is the timeline. Specify the time frame in which your offer is going to produce said results. Is that going to be within 90 days? Is it going to be within a quarter? Is it going to be within a year? Or like, what can they reasonably understand from them implementing their finances and their time and their energy? What are they going to get out within that benefit in that end result within a certain time frame? And then number 5 is the risk reversal. I'll say this just as a disclaimer. You don't have to include a risk reversal for any and all businesses. I've seen them attract the lower quality clients at times. Specifically, like we used to run a performance-based lead generation agency. And so we want to use a risk reversal to just really kind of put customers' minds at ease and increase the perceived likelihood of achievement for them while having a safe fallback in case we don't. And that's really great when you get started. And I understand the struggle that other businesses encounter when they already are established, to include that risk reversal, just like lowers their potential ROI on that activity by potentially having to refund those customers, right? And so it's just something to think around. It's like, what's your maturity on the scale here? And do you need to actually plug in and present a risk reversal? You then simply just implement those different variables in the sequence below, right? In the sentence below. We help stay-at-home moms lose 10 pounds in 90 days by utilizing our gym launch plan, or you get your money back, right? We help B2B SaaS and service business owners to book 8 to 20 meetings every single month with our outbound prospecting techniques, right? And so it's just like different, like kind of tweaking and editing here. Oh, even threw some samples down here below. We partner with single moms to get them back 10 hours a week cooking with our food preparation and delivery services. By partnering with us, restaurants add $5,000 to $10,000 a month to their bottom line with their point of sale system. And so Alex Hormozi's framework is great for just to get started. Like, this is where we were when we were back at year 0 to 1, right? Like, it's really good for helping you get there. But in order for you to break out of that, you have to be more creative. And so don't let this be your crutch, right? Some of our best clients results, which I'll share later on, are simply just presenting the case study and seeing if they'd be interested in doing the same for them. No real fancy presentation to it. Just pitching the outcome, just straight up pitch. We drive for a similar business to see if they're open to achieving similar results. And if you can draw up a laser sharp lead list from tools like Ocean and Clay and hit them with a hyper targeted case study on how you helped a similar peer, that just screams relevance and is costly to ignore to them. And so we'll talk about this a little bit later on in the creative marketing strategies or creative copywriting strategies, but you can use Hormozi's framework and get started there. But I want to encourage you, when you start running and creating your campaigns, to start doing just a direct pitch of your case study that you were able to do for others. And then just ask, would that be interesting? Are you open to seeing some similar results? You mind if I throw some ideas over the fence? Right, you can kind of see how that breaks out. So then it comes to selling over cold email. The first topic here that's really important is just relevance. Trigger events will be limited to a significantly smaller population compared to that of your total addressable market that exists. And if we're targeting the TAM, which we absolutely should be, we'll want to refine again what that ICP looks like by some commonalities amongst those partners that aren't as bright as the red flashing lights of the trigger event. So it's something that is small as a lean development team headcount. They just transfer companies and use you previously. This is their first time being a C-suite member, right? It's these small little intricacies that we're able to see that we know that we can plug in and support, but it's just not as bright as a trigger event. And previously, this used to take hours upon hours of tedious research and market analysis to identify these relevant trends. But now with AI and things like Clay and Hunter and Clearbit, we're able to plug in all those tools in LinkedIn, and you can quickly search given those parameters or preload copious amounts of data to deduce and identify what specific personas in that market are fitting in that theory of relevance. And I won't be like going into AI and lead generation. I have larger articles on that topic and complementary videos as well in this channel, but a few ways you can personalize just based on relevance utilizing AI is you can pull website traffic. You can see what they're hiring for. You can see their headcount at a company level, but also within a specific division. Recent events or a conference that they went to, personnel changes, right? Just all small little things that you can pull out of the ether to inform your strategy and be like, I noticed you got a lean marketing headcount. We've been partnering with other marketing leaders to equip them with data-driven insights so that they can yada, 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 right? Like all these small little different things. Looks like your web traffic went down over the past 30 days. We recently just partnered with XYZ company and increased their web traffic by 150% over the past 2 years, utilizing XYZ mechanisms. Open to see if I can do the same for you, right? Like just stuff like that. And it's relevance that's incredibly impactful and a second step down from trigger events in conviction of just how well they're going to work for you. And so the next aspect here is like, all right, we now at least know what we're going to sell and how we're going to sell it, right? It's either demand capture or demand generation. And we're going to go down one of those paths and we're going to sell that to their audiences. Now, what we're doing from a campaign structure standpoint is when we previously started in sales, like I was told it took like 8+ touches before somebody even like buys or engages with your services. And one of the naiveties to me, or maybe one of the things that lacked in that customer research is like the multitude of different touch points that there is, right? That means like all mediums. That means on marketing, on sales, on customer support, right? Hearing from other customers themselves, right? And so you don't have to own those 7-8 touch points, and I really encourage you not to, because if you're going to do that, one, your email domains are going to get burnt, and people are just going to tell you to like kick rocks often because you're just blowing up their email inbox. So we like to keep our emails short, personalized, relevant, and impactful for what they'll do for our end users. And typically, we just like separate these out over the course of a couple days a piece. Below is just like our sending schedule, so you guys can replicate this. Email 1, we send them, we wait 2 days. Email 2, we send, then we wait 3 days. Email 3, we send, then we wait 7 days. And then email 4 is a nuclear option. I talk around a nuke in some of our shorts, but a lot of these cold emails try to use templates in, that like online gurus share, and I'm guilty of this as well because I've seen them go incredibly well. And while templates are incredibly helpful for getting started, you just won't see outsized results with them. This guide is meant to teach you how to go from 0 to 6 or 7 on the cold email knowledge scale out of 10. So I'll just share a few that'll aid in the creative process. That said, let these guides be a crutch, not an anchor to you. They can be used in most cases, but not all. Cool. So number 1 is the observation here. I noticed current problem that most of our clients are having, right? That's like a relevance reach out, even though why it's so crucial, right? We know the value that's going to be on the back end of that. Decided to reach out because we've recently helped used to sell the case study. We're now helping a handful of companies like yours achieve that value that we're pretty much just tying from here to here. Can I send you some more information on how we did it? This is pretty helpful. Additional like good starter script that you can take and run with. I've seen this just work pretty well across just like most demand generation landscapes. Kind of the BS and just like going right for it. Hi, first name. You have a relevant personalized first line based on website, headcount, growth, personnel. You notice they oversee a certain position, right? In my experiences, businesses that reach their stage typically have their attention on goal 1 and goal 2. That is done. You're able to identify the goal 1 and goal 2 just based on your either acquired customer interviews or acquired knowledge through just research utilizing AI. We've been providing unique solutions for companies like Competitor 1, Competitor 2, and Competitor 3. I don't suppose you'd have a few minutes to jump on a call and see what we can do the same for you. All right, that's pretty relevant the entire way throughout, right? We're speaking to them initially. We're speaking to the goals that they have, whether at a company level or at their level or a persona level. And we're even calling out their competitors as well. To call it competitors, you can just use like Clay and just have Clay go and scrape their website to identify that information. You can even have them pull out the goals too. So this can mostly be done with AI. And then hands down, the best cold email format that'll never stop working is the Why You Now framework. It is just like so relevant. I notice you oversee position. I'm sure you're encountering pain point or you're looking to achieve a certain ideal outcome. We establish industry as ideal outcome in time frame by a unique mechanism, right? Just utilizing that demand generation framework. Recently, we case studied Mind If I send over a quick resource and how we did it. This is so incredibly relevant because you're able to speak to them specifically, right? Like you're speaking to their position, you're speaking to their world and their pain point and their challenge that they're dealing with right now. And then you're just presenting your offer and exactly how it's going to relate to that first sentence and where they're at right now, right? And so it doesn't have to be we establish, it could be we partner with, we help, we enable, right? Like you can sub those out, but it's all going to tie back into how you're going to help them. So it's why you and why we should engage now, right? That is the big sales pitch there. Direct pitch, just another easy template that you can include. Hi, first name. I noticed you oversee vertical at company name. If we could offer, would that be interesting? Recently, we case studied. I talked about this a little bit earlier. Sometimes you got to skip the shit and just like get to the pitch. This works incredibly well in like B2B services. And the offer is just like, we're just forming this either in a Hormozy framework or just showing like the value of either saving time, saving money, making more money, and just presenting it in that creative, attractive way there. Highly recommend including it at least one direct pitch in your campaign just to see what hits, if not like 2 or 3. We've got some outside results from this exact same activity as well. So those are the initial emails that you can run with. Now, when it comes to follow-ups, your follow-ups, you really just want to come across organically, or that you're like thinking of this person again and wanted to remind them of something. And typically what this should take the form of is more just free knowledge, you elaborating more fully on your service or your offer, or you're sharing more of the impact of your service. And I'd say one of the biggest things that like was a learning curve that we encountered around year 1 is make your follow-ups sound natural. Don't just like dive in and pitch again. That's what we were doing previously. The follow-up should relate to some sort of natural questions or concerns that your prospect might have when initially receiving that email. And you're able to get that knowledge by either hearing from sales calls, hearing from customers, or like AI, like what are the gaps that you have by your questions your customers are going to naturally have after engaging with your services. And your goal is when they have those questions is to close that in your follow-up and compel them to take action and learn more. So what that sounds like is I was thinking about you and wanted to share a bit more on X and Y. It would help out with Y that you're working on. Have a few minutes on Wednesday to show you around, right? So that's one example. Here's some more ideas fully baked out. These are just templates. Once again, these are helpful. Don't let them be your crutch because if you're running them, I'm sure a lot of other people are running them at this point too. So hi, first name. I'd reached out the other day about how we could achieve an ideal outcome for you, but likely didn't show you fully how we'd help. I was back on your site today and had a few ideas come to mind. You can then utilize GPT to go and scrape their website and pull out things like either new content or blog ideas, website optimization opportunities, marketing ideas, sales ideas, right? Like different content that you think is going to help resonate to your offer and how you're able to achieve the ideal outcome. I'm of course sharing these without knowing your, let's say, marketing goals for 2024. Are you open to speaking briefly next Tuesday at 3 p.m. about your vertical goals and if we can help? One of the things I want to call out here in this follow-up script is the utilization of a direct call to action and asking for a time here, right? Like we presented a free value, like a little nugget on our first email, and it didn't garner any attention. So let's just like go for a direct ask here, which is ultimately what we want to sell is a meeting. We never want to sell the service via cold email. We want to sell the meeting. And so we're going out, we're asking for the meeting at this point. They can always go back and they can have that value, but in this case here, let's just kind of present what we exactly want. Because once again, we're leading with value here for them. Hi, first name. I notice you oversee exposition. Are you currently struggling with common industry pain point? We've been working with industry to offer that solves that exact pain point that you just called out. And then you just bring this to life for them. I love this. I love this one. It's picture this. Step 1, step 2, step 3, an ideal outcome. That's not just a fantasy. That's just what we did for client 1 and client 2. Are you totally opposed to me sharing a resource on how we did it? I like this use of coming from a negative here, right? Are you totally opposed, right? Because they have to be like, no, I'm not totally opposed, or yes, I am totally opposed, right? And then you're just like a case study on how you did it, essentially. You can also switch the picture of this for like, let's pretend. And then you're like, let's pretend we do this, and we do this. And like step 3 should be like a really high outsized result. You're generating $250,000. They got featured on a podcast. They're on the cover of Forbes magazine. Like what is something so cool that your product wouldn't enable them to go and do as a result of engaging your services? And then you just sell the fuck out of that. What is something so cool that your product or services did? And then you just go and you sell that to your target audience. So subject lines. I talked around this a little bit earlier in the thesis of cold email copywriting, but like they're kind of the unsung heroes of cold email campaigns. And no matter how strong your subject or your offer is, if the subject line doesn't get them to open your email, then it's just like game over. So what makes, in our experience, subject line really irresistible? And there's like a few key elements to this. One is just like curiosity. Leave them like wondering like what's inside here. Right, first name, quick question, creates just enough intrigue and is all lowercase. I always recommend lowercase here. I kind of like formulates it to be similar to that of an internal email, and you can kind of like almost come across in like a casual format. Yeah, seeing formal is the second point there. Number 3 is personalization. People love seeing their name in a subject line. Hey, first name, made this for you, or FYI, first name, right? It's always gonna be like, oh, whoa, what is this about? And then they're gonna wanna engage or open that. Another one there is like first name and company name, or like our company name that we're reaching out to. Relevance is like speak to their pain point. A subject like struggling with pain point, or challenging with, frustrated with, tired with, right? Like just sub out those pain words and get them thinking. It should be under 50 characters. Most people open their emails on their phone, so like make sure it's just like short and punchy. Another thing to mention is like if you see a really good cold email subject line and you open it, chances are 50 to 80 to 90% of the population is going to do that too. So anytime I get a really good cold email subject line, I just have a running document of those and I just input those in there, just so I can always fall back on something that I know worked and capture my attention, and just learn from others, right? If you're not learning from the competition, you're not going to get better in your outreach. And then next time you send a cold email, A/B test a bunch of different subject lines to see which one gets more opens, and you'd be surprised at how much of a difference a little tweak can just make to your campaigns and just applying different subject lines. Because going from a open rate of 30% to 40% is sometimes the difference of over 400 to 1,000 people opening up your email and getting reads. And when you're getting those reads, like that's a significant multiple that you're getting on return on your investment there. And then lastly, here's like one of the spam prevention things, and I won't go too much into spam prevention in this video. I have longer form videos on that. It's just the utilization of applying spin tax. Spin tax is a syntax sending formula that essentially just varies like who's going to be getting what message from each sender. So person A gets person A gets message A, person B gets message B, person C gets message C. But all essentially this looks like it's just like curly brackets with those different variables subbed out with a middle straight line here. And so you can kind of see that here, right? We have a curly bracket, we have the variable /s, my company name, and then we have this separated by a straight line. And then we do that again with quick question, then we just end that with curly bracket. So this will enable it so person 1 gets that first message, while person 2 will get your company quick question, right? And so we also just like created a Spintax GPT that'll do it for you. When I share this guide, you guys will be able to click on that and just have this GPT do it for you alone. Awesome. So if you've made it this far, you've structurally understood at this point like how we do our research, position our product, and some of the generalized templates that we'll utilize from outreach. That'll get you from about a 0 to maybe like a 4 or 5 here. And while there is some standardization that we can employ in our outreach, what I want to encourage you to really do is employ your unique creative writing elements and tactics and strategies and the way that you write and speak as a person to go out and engage that target persona. Because when you do that and you are personal in your creative writing style, that is when you're going to get really outsized results with your cold email campaigns. And after writing and sending over 8 figures worth of cold emails, I've noticed some common elements that have made my creative writing style really effective. And I'm just going to share some of those fun writing styles with you here. So if you've made it to this far in the video, this is probably going to be the most action-packed part of it. So I'm excited. Let's get into it. So number 1, your prospects are like firmly inundated with emails. We know this as a matter of fact at this point. And when we've engaged with very difficult ICPs, so let's say like Fortune 1000 C-suite, for example, we need to provide them with information that adds insight or daily value to their life or career. Not some like blanketed pain-oriented question, which is great for some target populations, don't get me wrong, we'll talk about that. Or some statement that they're already aware of that we know to be true, right? We talked about those earlier and that has a place. But it's your ability to come in and challenge their status quo that comes from your unique experiences and understanding. And chances are, if you're selling to this target population already, you've already had customer interviews or had those conversations with customers or done a lot of research online to pull out different unique storylines or value extraction or data points that you can then present to them to add value to their life. And then you just utilize this insight and what stats truly shocked them that compelled them to ultimately move the deal forward, and what truth did your prospect previously believe that was shattered by providing this counter compelling evidence that you had shared with them. And marketing insights that are unique or are known to them are always incredibly effective as well. So the real goal here is to give them something that they can take back into the water cooler and be like, did you guys know that? Or did you guys hear that? And once you've like nailed that really effectively in your outreach, and you'll know you've earned the mind share and mutual respect of that individual. And we've sold some incredibly hard solutions to really hard to reach target populations. We've sold marketing insight to Fortune 500 companies, marketing insights. We've sold cybersecurity to NASDAQ listed companies, right? Like you have to be really creative in this approach. And like the way that we did that is providing marketing insight on their competitors, what their competitors were doing at that exact same time frame and where they were shifting into the marketplace. Technology evolution related insights. That's how we sold the cybersecurity so well, is by challenging the status quo and showing how fast the market was moving. That then compelled them to take evidence and evaluate our solution and why their product might fail, right? We had that backed by stats and case studies. We've done that for product launches for major companies, and then competitor related insights. That'll always work, right? Like, who doesn't want to know what their neighbor next door has got going on? It's just like a keeping up with the Joneses sort of activity that we're going to leverage to really challenge your status quo, keep them up to date, and give them something to talk about so we can capture their mind share. So when you're dealing with really a high-end solution or just any really campaign in general, I encourage you to just like pull out one strategy or fact that you know is going to be relevant to that target persona and present that into your copywriting elements just to give them some little nugget by just barely engaging with you and just opening up your email. And that's always want to be the first line here. Number two, speak to their pain points or poke the bear. I can't take credit for this one. This is Josh Braun. He shares a lot of content like this on LinkedIn, but I think it's great because essentially what we're going to do is like, we know a pain point based on our customer case studies and our relevance, our case studies and our research. And we then just kind of like take the needle and we just press it a little bit more into their arm and just kind of illuminate that pain point a little bit more. And it shouldn't be like a super intense question by any means, but we're leveraging our unique insight about their world to speak to them in a persuasive manner. And you can come up with these questions on your own, or you can even use GPT to help you out. I like to use a combination of both, and that's where we really get outsized results. And there's just some basic GPT template workflow that you can employ here. What are some of the typical pain points being faced by ICP when trying to do X, right? X is the activity that you're trying to help out with. How painful those challenges, right? They're very painful, they're not as bad. And then you just change those pain points into engaging questions to be used in cold email, and then just like keep the tone casual because it'll come off like super salesy at times. Your ideal output here is to have like 3 to 4 questions that are going to lean into the pain that you're going to directly solve with your offer. And then you can just spin tax these questions, or you can utilize them on subsequent emails. And so what that sounds like is, are you struggling with, are you finding that, is it annoying that, are you tired with, would it be helpful if so just different formats of that. Likability. So this is probably one of my favorite ones. The Guinness Book of World Records, Joe Girard, he sold over 13,000 vehicles in his career. And a large part of that was just like him being an incredibly likable guy. And that's tough to do, right? If you're not in a customer facing role like you are with car sales, like how do you become across as likable? And the way that Joe did that at scale is like he would send out simple messages just saying, I like you, to help build relationships and trust, which led to customer referrals and repeat customers. So all that to say, everyone likes to be complimented, plain and simple. Girls all the time are like, I like your dress, or I like what you're wearing, like you look beautiful. Like everyone loves to be complimented. And so you just want to employ that similar element in cold email. But you'll like want to come across this like organically as to how you found them or identified their brand or business. This is easy when you're trying to just speak to one person, easily complimenting their background, recent post on LinkedIn, or marketing effort. At scale, this becomes increasing a little bit difficult. So we need to employ more like blanketed statements to go ahead and engage those individuals. And so like what that sounds like, we've employed this one as well. Like, came across your brand today, I see the vision. Came across your marketing content, love what you're building, a company name. Came across on your store on Google today, love what you built. My fiance sent me some of your products on Instagram. Sounds like you're on her Christmas list this year. Just like different stuff like that, just to make it super casual. Came across your restaurant when searching for top Mediterranean cuisine in London. We'll have to stop by next time I'm there, right? Like just something that seemed like more organic, and then you just flow into your offer there. Everyone likes to be liked. Everyone likes to be complimented, and then you just employ this to your benefit here effectively. Be a familiar peer. So with being a familiar peer, we're going to deploy the unique insight we have already acquired to speak to that target persona as someone that we see, we already know and understand. The pain point or trigger event we're going to highlight should flow directly into your offer. And why it relates to why you're reaching out. And so you're just going to want to use the pain points and trigger events you've collected to put this knowledge on full display. So what this sounds like in practice is we've heard from other X that Y can be a constant headache. If you're like some of the other marketing leaders we work with, you might be frustrated with your sales team complaining about the quality of leads. Working with other DevOps leaders, we've heard just how frustrating and challenging managing a backlog inventory can be without a proper system in place, right? Like, so different things here, but your whole goal is just be like, I know this target persona, and then you just go and you speak to that target persona of like we've heard from, working with, speaking with, partnering with, right? Like just like kind of sub out those words there and just like come across in an organic format there. Ooh, nice. One of my favorites. Paint the picture of the future. Now, this creative element is typically applied more so in follow-ups, and I talked about that earlier. We've begun testing in some of our initial outreach as well with some initial success, but I want to more so say, caveat that like this is where we employ in follow-ups. And so the ultimate goal here is to help your prospects just visualize what that world would look like for you guys to come in and solve their problems or help them make money, save money, raise their status, save time, right? Like all the good stuff that we talked about earlier. Then we just utilize powerful language of let's pretend or paint this picture. And for example, it's like, let's pretend we're able to fill your calendar every day with qualified leads so you don't have to make a cold call again, right? We want to shift our prospects' frame into what their ideal state would look and feel like, and try not to make this feel cheesy or cheeky like you're some sort of like snake oil salesman. And I shared some templates for how you can do this before with the AI implementation and future state ideas. Those are just like two great examples that share more on your solution and service and what that evolution would feel like when engaging and working with your services. Sell the case study. So this is when I talked around demand capture as an alternative to Hormozi's offer creation framework. We just want to take the case study that we have and sell that to the market itself. So what we essentially do here is if we're able to build hyper-targeted lead lists through a tool like Clay and Oceans of finding almost identical lookalike audiences, this will print 90% of the time. And this is where we start off every single client is with a lookalike campaign. It's really simple. You just do a quick intro and run effectively into your case study and ask if they'd be interested in achieving similar results. The introduction you use in this cold email can be either a question, a statement, a compliment, or being a familiar peer, kind of like what I talked around earlier. Something to get them to correlate what you're about to pitch them. And so just like, here's an offer of that. Overseeing growth. Are you happy with the lead flow your team is currently receiving? We just helped a SaaS company at $105,000 within 90 days by utilizing our outbound prospecting efforts. And then you just spin tax the question. Are you open to speaking briefly, and just employ a call to action there? And so like, there's no traditional offer here, right? It's just like a presentation of the case study. Like I guess this is like kind of your offer in a sense here, but it's you just selling that case study for a client that you know is like almost apples to apples comparison for the initial population that you helped out. And if you could spin up all five of these angles that I mentioned here, sell the case study, paint the picture, be a familiar peer, likability, speak to their pain points and poke the bear, right? If you can do all of these in your campaigns, you're going to be incredibly effective and have so much data to test, and you're going to be able to nail which variant is going to work and stick and scale effectively. And then you're just kind of like testing your just different offer at that point. But like, these are the creative elements that you're want to employ in every single campaign that are going to get you really far in your creative outreach. And then like, what other creative elements can you bring to the table that I haven't illuminated here, that I haven't shared with you guys, to really get those outsized results? Because I want you to challenge and break out from these molds and break out from the templates to be really successful, because that's when you get the outsized results. And so you've made it this far in your cold emails. You've done your research on your prospect. You've shown that you know your world. You have a solution that'll help them save time, save money, make money, or raise the status. Now is the time to make your ask. Your call to action should either be front loaded in your email or at the end of your email. And so in the form of when you front load that in an email, it's essentially just like you either go for a direct pitch and at the end you just say, would that be interesting? Would that be intriguing? Does that sound appealing? Or some other variant of that. And then you just quickly and effectively portray your offer and see if that'll grab the attention. This works best in the case for B2B services, not really SaaS. And we've gotten like outsized results for B2B services when you just go in and pitch and just ask if that would be interesting. And then it's just absolutely printed. So if you're in a B2B services space and you either want to do this yourself or you want us to do it, let us know. We'd be happy to chat. Alternatively, if we're applying a CDA at the end of our email, this can take two different forms, either a value-driven in email 1 and then a direct ask in email 2. And so what is a value-driven call to action? People call these like the Trojan horse, but it's essentially like a very similar version of your demand capture. It's like you're leading with something of value to your prospect that'll make their life not only easier, that's easy for you to do, it's repeatable, and it's low friction. And by leading with something of value, we're then going to use the rule of reciprocity to our benefit to earn their time in our second ask. Well, how, you might ask? Well, we just gave them something of value, and human nature is going to compel them to want to return the favor because they don't want to be indebted to us. That's kind of just like how the game has been played, socially at least. We don't need to give away the farm, but something that they would find of value or interesting. So that sounds like something that's like free ad samples or email marketing workflows or free leads or audits or competitive takedowns, or just like build out a whole lead generation strategy. Like, what is something of innate value or benefit that you can provide them that's repeatable, that's buildable, that's repeatable, that's scalable, that has value to them, that would want them to take action on that and then just earn their time off of that. And then with the direct ask CTA, we never want to sell like any service via cold email. We just want to sell the meeting. And so that's either like book a call, watch a demo video, or visit their website. Let's keep the focus on the end result here, which is on booking the meeting and getting them to take an action, never to buy a solution via cold email. So now you've watched this entire video and you read the document, you really have a few choices to make. You can either spend your own time, money, and energy to learn in lead generation from scratch, including domain setup, buying email accounts, configuring email accounts, extracting that hard to find data, writing your offer, writing scripts, managing replies, and booking meetings, right? Or you have a few options here. One, you could learn how to do cold email like a pro in our school community for $19 a month. The price is like 2 burritos. Number two is we can build this entire system for you for a one-time $2,000 fee, including the scripts that I mentioned above. Or number three, I can write the scripts for you for a one-time $250 fee. Or if you want us to manage this entire process for you from start to finish, you can apply directly on our website and find some time to chat a little bit more there. The choice is really yours. Until then, my name is Troy Aiken. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll talk here in the next one.